Hello, my name is Bonelle Amann. I graduated from Texas School for the Deaf and afterwards went to Gallaudet University, graduated from there in 1970, married my husband, Frank Amann, and we moved to upstate New York together and taught for 10 years. And then we got hired at Phoenix Day School for the Deaf here in Arizona, which is the sister school of Arizona State Schools for the Deaf and Blind, or ASDB. So we moved here in 1978 and then worked here for 33 years, well, 40 if you include my substitute teaching time. When we moved here, we found few organizations for the deaf. There was Phoenix Association of the Deaf. There was HEARS, or HEARS, which is an organization between deaf and hearing community members who work together on activities working with deaf children. There's also Valley Center of the Deaf, VCD, and then ACDHH, Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, which at the time had an executive director named Stu Brackney. And now we have our wonderful executive director, Sherry Collins, working with ACDHH. So we retired after our teaching years at PDSD and enjoyed some traveling, but we still do enjoy working at PDSD at times as well. We just love that school. As for deaf women role models, there are just so many. There are so many of them that it's hard to pick just one. I would say that my mom is number one in my life. She raised me, this stubborn, spoiled, rotten, deaf daughter. So I love my mom. She's a big role model for me. I would say next is Ruth Seeger, my PE teacher at Texas School for the Deaf, and she was also my track coach for 4 years. Had a great deal of respect for her. She would always say, aim for the best. That was her motto, aim for the best. And so I would always think of that and try to live by that. I always thought about her motto. There are so many women throughout history. History is full of deaf women for the last 100 years. Did you know that the founder of Girl Scouts was deaf? Did you know that the first woman to swim across the English Channel was deaf? Laura Redden Searing was an author who wrote a book of poetry about the American Civil War. She worked with Abraham Lincoln and with Ulysses S. Grant, and she was deaf. There are so many women in history. And then we've had a deaf Miss America. Marlee Matlin won an Academy Award for her role in the movie Children of a Lesser God. Linda Bove was the deaf librarian on Sesame Street. So many examples. And we've got our women who have worked tirelessly with our Phoenix Deaf Women's Organization. I love all of them, and they've kept the organization strong, and there are just so many that have worked tirelessly, and it's too bad that their accomplishments and their names have not been preserved in history books. They've been left out. I wish that they could be in them. So here in Arizona, when we moved here, we had two friends who moved with us and who worked with us at Phoenix Day School for the Deaf. That was my friend. One of them was my friend Mona Kitson. We were cheerleaders together at Gallaudet. And so we worked together at PDSD for several years. And then eventually she became a single woman. And she came to realize at that point that there were a lot of women here in the Phoenix area who needed help. So she went to the Deaf Women's Conference at the time and became inspired to create an organization here to help women um, become empowered and to feel strong and independent. So we worked together, Mona and I, and she asked me and then also some other friends, and we got together and we were together almost every night for a few months, working hard, establishing our syllabus and our agenda and creating the Phoenix Deaf Women's Organization. And we founded that in 1992. We had our first Southwest Women's Conference. There were over 100 women in attendance at that conference here in Phoenix. So we've worked for many years on that organization, and then unfortunately Mona left the earth on March 9th, 2002, and we still kept that organization strong. And so Mona is one of my role models because she had the passion and the drive to help women realize that they could be empowered, they could be independent. So that organization has a mission, which is to promote advancement, education, advocacy, empowerment, and networking among women. We need to network to make our voices strong and to make them heard. So we've established activities, things like we've provided a women's series on health and a variety of activities. So one night I was having a big party at my home. There were over 80 people there who came to help work on fundraising to support the Deaf Women's United Conference that will be happening this year in Phoenix in July 17th through the 21st, so I hope to see you there. Anyway, that night we were having this party, and there were 3 of the original founders, including myself, and we were just looking out on our present board members, the conversation that was happening about fundraising and whatever, and my son Brian came along and said, "You 3 are watching this conversation. You just look so happy. Why is that?" And I told him, because we feel so good. We started this organization, and to see them still carrying that forward makes us feel so good. And Brian said, "Really? You have goosebumps?" And I said, "Yeah, I have goosebumps. Now you understand how good I feel." And, you know, it's just us 3 here, but I know Mona is smiling down from heaven too. And so Brian hugged me. So the Phoenix Deaf Women's Organization is still strong, and I love all the people who are carrying things forward, the officers, the current president, vice president, everyone's doing good work. As to words of wisdom for deaf ladies, I would say be proactive. Join organizations. Join Phoenix Deaf Women's Organization. Go to the Deaf Women's United Conference. That will be this July. Make this world a better place for our next generation of deaf people and for the deaf people we have right now.